Fighting Vipers 2. Select your Viper. Come on.
How's it going, guys? Today I'm going to be covering a really cool fighter for the Sega Dreamcast called Fighting Vipers 2. Fighting Vipers 2 first arrived in arcades in 1998 and then was ported to the Dreamcast in January 2001. It was released in Japan and Europe, but unfortunately the North American release was cancelled, which is unfortunate.
Round 2. Let the action begin. Go.
Fighting Vipers 2 is a 3D fighter, and you battle inside caged rings. The gameplay in Fighting Vipers 2 is really fast and fluid. It's really action-packed. The movesets are similar to Virtua Fighter, but I find Fighting Vipers has the superior movements, and I find the gameplay is just superior in Fighting Vipers. The character models look really good, though some of them might seem a little childish, but in truth, Fighting Vipers is not meant to be taken seriously. Some of you are probably going to say that the graphics don't look as good as, say, Soul Calibur. Now I'm going to say this. You have to remember, Soul Calibur received graphical enhancements for the Dreamcast. Unfortunately, Fighting Vipers 2 didn't. While this is a perfect arcade port from the Model 3 arcade board, you have to remember that the Sega Dreamcast is more powerful than the Model 3 arcade board. However, I will say this, even though there hasn't been any graphical enhancements, the graphics still look pretty good even by today's standards. I really like the music in Fighting Vipers 2, and the sound effects, they're both really top notch. One thing I do find a little annoying is, some characters have voice phrases when they're fighting, and they'll constantly repeat them when they hit the enemy player. It kind of gets annoying. I mean, it's not a big thing. One really cool thing with Fighting Vipers 2 is, if you time it right, you can do a final blow against your enemy player which will send them crashing through a barrier, which is really cool. I love it. Fighting Vipers 2 has a really cool armor system, and you can see the armor gauges in each corner, and if you manage to knock the enemy player's armor off, they'll be vulnerable in that spot, and they'll have the same vulnerability in the next round. Some players also have weapons, like a skateboard or a guitar. It's really funny to use those weapons. Some of you guys are probably looking at the gameplay, and you must be thinking I must be some kind of veteran player. No, I'm not. Believe it or not, I've only had this game a couple weeks and I actually only got to play it twice. This was the second time I had a chance to play it when I was recording this footage. The reason I'm doing so well is because Fighting Vipers 2 is a really good control scheme. You only have 3 buttons, so it's really easy to get into it for new players. I will say this though, I'm playing this game on normal, and even on normal this game offers you a good challenge. In the end, I'm giving Fighting Vipers 2 a solid 9.8 out of 10. The gameplay is solid, the controls are smooth, the graphics are pretty good though. I agree they could have used enhancements. The music and sound effects are top notch. I do wish there was more characters in the game, but there's still a decent amount of characters. I do wish there would have been some more game modes added to the Dreamcast port. In the end, Fighting Vipers 2 is a really solid fighter for the Dreamcast, and it easily makes one of my top 10 best fighting games for the Dreamcast. I highly recommend that you pick up Fighting Vipers 2. The Sega Dreamcast is region locked, so you'll either have to get a Japanese or European Dreamcast, or you have to get your Dreamcast modded, or you'll have to use a boot disc. I'm using the Cheats and Codes boot disc here, and it does work pretty well. Fighting Vipers 2 will cost you about $20 to $30, it's not that expensive. Fighting Vipers 2 is a really solid fighting game for the Dreamcast, and one I highly recommend you pick up. I'm gonna close this video by letting you see the rest of the game footage. I will talk to you guys later. This is the Entertainment Wizard, signing off.